Okay, let's get started here today. I'd like to welcome all of you to the Spectrum Institute for Teaching and Learning 2023 workshop series, Broadening the Spectrum of Teaching Styles Through Global Coalition. It is our first session out of 5 sessions here that will take place over the spring. Today, we have 2 presentations. One presentation is going to be the first one with Dr. Michael Goldberger, Professor Emeritus from James Madison University, Virginia, US. And then the second presentation today will be the Spectrum Institute for Teaching and Learning board members. We'll be talking a little bit about the future of the SITL. And let's begin with our presentation. Nikos, would you like to begin with it? I know we won't be able to share a screen, but that's okay.
Thank you, Mark. I will start, first of all, by just reminding the mission of the Spectrum Institute for Teaching and Learning, which is related with the promotion, the enhancement and dissemination of the spectrum of teaching styles. So far, we have done a lot of work and have launched a variety of initiatives in order to promote the spectrum of teaching styles around the world. For example, as you have seen, we have become active in all kinds of social media and also updating our website, which is the main path to provide basic information about the spectrum. It's the second year we organize this type of workshops with colleagues around the world, and it's a great chance to communicate with each other. We started the previous year when Sarah was still alive, and she was very happy to see us, doing and organizing this type of work. For the moment, there are a couple of projects that we are all engaged. For example, developing educational material that will be at some point available online and free to everybody. And perhaps we might need some help from some of you, because it's a big project and it's going to be global within 2023, I hope. Promoting research, I think we have taken at least 2 basic initiatives. One, towards funding research with a peer-reviewed process, always, of course, for transparency and also meritocracy reasons. For example, as you have seen, research grant program that concerns master or doctoral students, early or later career researchers and faculty members. And recently, we've launched another initiative about conference grant for international congresses. And you can, of course, have all this information in our website. And last but not least, we have launched an initiative about awarding an article, at least one per year, that is related with spectrum research. Okay. Now, just to conclude a little bit, because I wouldn't like to take your time, there is a promise that we've made to Sarah, before she passed away. And the promise was related taking the spectrum from here to eternity. Okay, so because the gift of Sarah, we would like to hear from you and the active spectrum community ideas, for example, about what things or items or initiatives would you like to see from the Spectrum Institute in the future, let's say in the near future or even further. and we would like to hear your thoughts. So this is an open discussion for everybody. I think, Mark, you are the moderator, so if one would like to raise hand and share thoughts.
Yeah, please do. Just if you have a question that you'd like to ask us, or you have thought about something that you'd like to see the Spectrum Institute begin, please share your thoughts with us now if you wish.
I think, Mark, there is one idea that is quite mature that actually you have started, and you may share with us if you want, just to start with, related with the development of little videos.
Yes. So one of our newest initiatives, which will be, basically we're unveiling it right now, but it'll be probably a couple weeks before you'll see information on the website. We have created mini grants for producing sample Spectrum episodes. So in other words, we're asking the community, the Spectrum community members and people who use the Spectrum, we are inviting you to create specifically landmark Spectrum teaching styles, videotapes with kids or with pre-service teachers, possibly, with our curriculum, the educational curriculum that we've been creating for the Spectrum, which is about a year-long project here. I have created a number of these episodes with pre-service teachers, which will be a part of that course. But we're really looking for you out there with your expertise with the Spectrum to produce a couple of sample, maybe one that you're interested in then submitting to the Spectrum Institute. And we're offering $500 for the production of a given episode. That's all I'll share with that at the moment. Certainly there are specifics with it. And as I said, this initiative will be on the website shortly, within a couple of weeks here. If you have any questions about that, certainly you can ask now. Or if you have other things that you'd like to see the Institute working on, please share that with us now.
Mark, I've just got an observation, a couple of things. I think all the initiatives are fantastic and doing a wonderful job in promoting the Spectrum. We don't want to go down the path of some other groups, well-meaning groups as well, where they've overcomplicated things. So I'm thinking of Games for Understanding. I was there when that started, and it was a very straightforward, simple idea. And academics ended up making that thing so complicated that I think a lot of teachers are put off. We've got so many different offshoots and models and what have you. And that's really crippled that whole movement. That's my feeling anyway. And so I think straightforward is good. That's why I think this sample idea is an excellent one. I was there thinking, when you said produce samples, that I would have a number I could send almost every week of either when I'm teaching or the student teachers are. Then when you said production, it worried me because these aren't wonderful, and so that might be off-putting for some people. So what exactly do you mean by production?
I've just used that word to indicate that we're looking for individuals, Spectrum experienced folks, to produce these videotapes. I'm not using it as a large production in that sense at all. We want real episodes with real people, obviously. And when we teach, and Matt, when you've delivered episodes, and myself, when I've delivered episodes, lots of things go well, but there's always some things that we might forget to say, or, that sort of thing. Invited, that's all a part of it. One of the things that we certainly will do with the episodes that are sent to us is that we will check them for fidelity for that particular style, just to be sure that that style is being depicted in the episode. Now, these episodes can run, you know, I've done many style A episodes that last 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes. So episodes can run from maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes all the way up to 15, 20 minutes. It's going to vary considerably depending upon what style that you're in and so forth. And we're not, you know, the one thing that, at least right now, we're looking for the development of episodes obviously specific to one style. We're not looking for episodic teaching where we have multiple episodes in a row. That certainly is something that we would want for future, but not right now.
If I can give a clarification, Mark, that's excellent. I mean, but something similar with, let's say, videos that one can upload to YouTube, for example, or Vimeo. I mean, short videos that can be used for educational purposes. I mean, the details will be announced quite soon, I think.
Yeah.
Mark, can I say something?
Yes.
I think that concept of episode is one that I found most useful over the years. Before that, we were confusing lessons and periods and things like that. Episodes is that period of time in which teacher and learner are in the same teaching style, working on the same objective. And I was going to mention during my presentation, my dear friend and colleague, Phil Gurney at the Elkins Park School, sometimes had 3 or 4 episodes going on at the same time. He might have in one corner of the gym some children working on group problem solving. In another corner of the gym, he might have some kids working on fencing in style C. In another corner of the gym, he might have kids involved with throwing and catching in style E. So in the same gym at the same time, you might have 3 or 4 episodes going on. I just want to mention that.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Other comments or questions from others?
Mark, I'll add one thing if I can. I think having the educational modules as a pre-service teacher educator is going to be extremely helpful, because through the research that Kanai and I have been doing and interviewing students with Spectrum in their process of learning about it, it's constantly, I need another resource. I need to see what it looks like when someone else is doing it. And peer teaching or me teaching them and then them getting exposure in the schools. I think the modules questioning the intricacies of the episodes and what differentiates them and what kids look like when they react. Another example of that they can reference, I think, is going to be really, really helpful for me in particular. But one thing that Kanai and I are working on, that we're looking at in our research, is really what is that developmental progression of pre-service teachers in the Spectrum styles that they find most comfortable, that come a little simpler? What are the complex strategies and episodes? How do they blend? So what is that sequence across their teacher education development? That's what we're working on, but I'd love to hear more. I've read the chapters by Shane Pill and I've read the chapters by Danetta that really try to outline what pre-service teachers are going through and how to best prepare them. So I know that there's an in-service teacher element, but maybe a little bit more on what is that pre-service teacher development too. I'd love to get more resources on that.
Okay, good. Thanks, Kelly. You know, let me just for a couple minutes here, backtrack just for a moment here. Nikos, when he started, he talked about the Spectrum educational curriculum. So let me elaborate on that a little bit right now. The Spectrum educational curriculum is something that the board members right now are in the process of developing. So what is it? We are developing, and we're using the word course really it's a substitute word for module perhaps, but what we're doing is we're developing 13 courses or 13 modules. Module 1 is Introduction to the Spectrum. Module 2 is Style A. Module 3 is Style C, and so forth, all the way to the end, which will be a summary of the Spectrum. We are creating this as an online courses for the spectrum community, people who want to learn more about the spectrum. We have created 2 of the courses, the Introduction and Style A. They are in the process right now of being uploaded online, not for people to look at yet, not to use yet, but just for ourselves. We're just trying to get all the pieces together for that. And then we're in the process of developing course 3, course 4, and so forth. Each course includes multiple PowerPoint presentations, short ones from 8 to about 12 minutes long, specific assignments that go with, short assignments that go with it. Each course will take about an hour to complete. That doesn't include a couple of readings for each, but that kind of should give you a little bit of a sense of what's coming with this Spectrum educational curriculum. It will be an online production, meaning that people can, work at their own pace through it. You can just look at one particular teaching style if you chose to, or you could do the whole piece, all 13 elements of it as an entire course. And, we're going to be working through identifying certification for it and so forth. But anyways, that gives you a little bit of an idea of what this Spectrum educational curriculum is going to be. Other comments or questions? All right, so we'll finish up with what we've just talked about from the board members here. Let's start with our first presentation again with Mike. Whenever you're ready, Mike, please start. And Autumn, if you can share the screen there with Mike.
Can you hear me and can you see the screen?
I can hear you.
Yes.
I met Muska Marston in 1969 in February. At the time, I was a graduate student at the University of Pittsburgh, and Muska was on a national lecture tour. Pittsburgh was one of his stops. Before that lecture in 1969, I had never heard of Muska Marston or the Spectrum teaching style. That lecture changed my professional life, and more about that lecture in a moment. But first, in planning this presentation about Muska, it occurred to me that while all of you know the name Muska Marston, some of you have never seen the man in action. So at this point in time, Autumn is going to show you a short video of Muska when he was at Rutgers University in the early 1960s. This video you're going to see is from one of his Saturday morning children's television programs he did on WCBS TV in New York every Saturday morning from 8 to 8:30. He did this program. It's called Shape Up, and you're going to see a short segment of that program. The concept Muska's working on at this point in time is strength. So Autumn, let's run that video now.
The English language and it says to you, what is a strength? How would you explain it? What would you say? What is a strength? Go ahead.
It's something that helps you lift up and pull and push.
Correct. This was perfect. It's something that you have in your body which helps you lift, push, or pull. Yes. Let's find out about things, about activities, about movements, which lift, which pull, and which push. And let's see the kind of strength, or see which part of the body has to do that kind of strength to do that. Okay? Stand up. Scatter, spread around. Leave the equipment where it is. Spread around the room here. Suppose we do this now. Stay right there. That is good. I'll come to each one of you. I'm going to do something with each one of you. This is what movement is it? What did I do? What? What did I do to him?
Lift.
I lifted him, okay?
I'm gonna be heavy.
Okay?
Is she heavy?
Feels good in the air? All right. Deb? Okay. That was my turn. Now it's your turn. Are you going to lift me?
Yeah. Yeah.
There we are.
Look at my feet.
Try it again.
Check my feet. Check on my feet.
No, huh? Well, go back to your place.
You're stiff.
I'm stiff. I'm not. Didn't work out.
What?
Didn't work. Well, you know, one person cannot lift me. I mean, one person here, one of you. Tell me what to do. Well, let me ask you this. Why can't you lift me? Linda?
You're older?
I'm older. Is that the reason? You mean I couldn't lift a person who is older than I am? Yes.
You're heavier
I'm heavier. Heavier than who?
than us.
Right.
Again.
And therefore, you need more what to lift me?
Strength.
Right. Mike, now, we need more strength. We're talking about strength things today. Okay. Well, let's get to more strength. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll add one person at a time. I'm going to lie down right there on the mat, so you'll have more places to pick me up. One person cannot pick me up. You cannot lift me. You need more strength, we found out. So we'll have 2 people, and then 3 people. And then let's see how many people we need, how much strength to pick me up. All right? Suppose we do it like this. You're number 1. You're number 2. You're number 3. You're number 4. You're number 5. You're number 6. All right? Would you come around this mat on this side? And I'll lie down. Now, come to this side, Kath. All of you come to this side. All of you come to this side. Now, I'll call you by number. Number 1, number 2, number 2, 3. Let's find out.
He said number 1.
And you can...
2.
You have a problem?
He said 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now,
What do you say?
okay? Come stand on this side, Deb. On this side, right. You can try to lift me any place, any part of my body, you know. Let's see how it works out. You know, I really don't know what's going to happen, but let's find out. Yeah, that's right. Put this thing away. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm calling numbers. Let go, please. Let go. Number 1. Let's try to lift me up. Well, I'm not up yet. All right, put it down. Only my legs. Number 1 and number 2. 1 and 2. Go ahead, lift me up. Not yet? All right, 1 and 2 and 3. Well, not enough strength yet. I'm still on the ground. Well, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, hold it. So, 4 of the people here do not have enough, what, enough? Strength to lift me up. All right, number 5, you can join the game. Here you go. Almost, I'm almost off the ground. Well, number 6, give him a hand, Oh, that's great. Beautiful. 6 people had the strength to do that. Well, let's try it once more. Maybe you can find the most comfortable way and lift.
Hey, thank you, Autumn. From this brief clip, I hope you were able to recognize the passion, creativity, and energy of the man. He was brilliant. Okay? Sarah Ashworth, Muska's closest colleague, wrote 5 characteristics that separated him from others. He functioned on maximum. He was naive and aloof to daily routines and tasks. For example, changing your oil in your car. He would never remember to do that. Muska harbored no malice toward others, in time always getting rid of negative feelings. Muska was unpretentious and modest in his needs. And Muska never saw a stranger. I would add the following. He could see the big picture. He was a visionary. His mind was able to transport him above the fray so he could envision the whole landscape. Yet he was clearly aware of intricate details of an issue or problem. He was an elegant conceptualizer. He was like an architect in intellectualizing ideas. Muska loved language. He achieved mastery of English and was a prolific writer. Muska loved to write. He published 4 books in his life and 1 unpublished biographical manuscript. He would write in longhand with a pencil, no computer, no typewriter, and he would almost never cross out anything. Muska kept diaries, and every day he would chronicle the events of his life, his victories and his defeats in his diaries. Sarah wrote, his handwriting was elegant, his thinking sequenced, and his thoughts poetically expressed. The physical act of writing brought pleasure to Muska, as he sensually felt the words appear from his fingertips to the paper. Muska had 2 major works in physical education. The first one was Development Movement, published in 1965. Rudy Mueller, who was Muska's colleague at Rutgers for many years, he said, Muska refined the ideas for the concept of developmental movement for about 5 years with his Rutgers students before publishing his book. I still believe that developmental movement provides one of the best taxonomies of the psychomotor domain ever written. His second book, published in 1966, was Teaching Physical Education, which I'm sure all of you have used. It's now in 6th edition. It's been translated into several languages, thanks to many of you. I believe it is now available for a free download at the Spectrum website. In 1972, Muska and Sarah went on to found the Center on Teaching. The Center on Teaching was a federally funded project that was sponsored for nearly a decade by the federal government. Over the years, Muska and Sarah prepared hundreds of teachers on how to use the spectrum. Now, I want to transition back to 1969 to that lecture in Pittsburgh. I found out that Muska was presenting 3 weeks later in Philadelphia. So I traveled from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia to see his lecture. It was a wonderful lecture held at Temple University. After the lecture was over, I purchased Muska's book and asked him to sign it. And he wrote, and remember this, I had just met the man just recently, and he wrote, Mikey, this was the first leak, really. And it really was. Ironically, a few weeks later, I was hired at Temple University, and I was there for the next 22 years. While I was on the faculty at Temple, Muska would frequently come over from Trenton, only 30 miles away, to help me and help my students as we learned spectrum. They would stop by and work with my students. For many years, Muska taught a graduate course on the spectrum at Temple University. Both Muska and Sarah earned their doctorates at Temple. I would often assist them in their spectrum projects in New Jersey. And so for 20 years, we had a close relationship back and forth. And then in 1992, I moved to Virginia. Sadly, Muska passed away suddenly in 1994. I want to go back again to that Pittsburgh lecture. The lecture that day in 1969 was on inclusion and exclusion in education. At some point during the lecture, Muska asked the audience, what conditions in our teaching lead to exclusion? Several members of the audience shouted out their ideas, and Muska summarized, we can impose exclusion when we set a level of performance that some students can't reach. They're unsuccessful and are often excluded. Muska used the skill of jumping over a rope to illustrate his point. He would say, when we use this activity, usually we start off with the rope being very low, so everybody can clear the rope. And then we raise it a little bit. And at some point in time, one person misses, and often that person is asked to sit on the side, and the rope is raised again. This continues until there's only one person left. Then Muska asked the question, what can we do to this task to instantly provide inclusion for all? While I was pondering this question, somebody in the back shouted out, slant the rope. The slanting rope concept, one end of the rope is on the ground and the other end is higher than any of the children can jump. So everyone theoretically is included within two limits of this task. I use this poor quality picture because the rope holders are Mustard and Ashworth. The slanting rope idea was a revelation to me. The idea of learners deciding on their own the level of acceptable performance was new to me. I was taught in college, the teacher decides on the level of acceptable performance. And so I was introduced to the slanting rope idea and to style E, the inclusion style, a task with multiple levels of difficulty. Learners individually select their own level of difficulty to complete the task. In an inclusion style, if a learner is successful on the first try, the next go around, he or she can change level or can repeat the same level. It's the learner's decision. In an inclusion style episode, it's inappropriate for the teacher to say to a learner, go higher or go lower. In this teaching style, the level of difficulty is the learner's decision. As you spectrum people know, any task, once you identify the factors that make the task more or less difficult, you can create alternative levels of difficulty. In the slanting rope, the factor that makes the task less or more difficult is the height of the rope. Here are some other examples of that. When I play golf, they usually provide at least 3 different places you can tee the ball from to hit the green. This is for the big hitters back here, for the moderate hitters, and I hit it from the up tees over here. In this task, a boy is throwing a football through targets. The targets have different sizes and also different heights from the ground. So there are 2 factors operating in this task. And if the task is to hit 3 of 5 free throw shots, and a style E episode, the child can select the level of basket they want to work with. So that's another example of the slanting rope. Now I want to conclude with you by sharing an incident involving the slanting rope that happened to me over 50 years ago during my time at Temple University. I was teaching a course at the time called Tutorial. In this course, I was working with 18 to 20 sophomore physical education students. Each week we visited a different school, so we went around Philadelphia to different schools we had worked with in the past in our student teaching program. We'd have taught a lesson in sport, movement, or fitness from a theme that the school's teacher suggested to us. And each week we use a different teaching styles. One of the purposes of the tutorial was to introduce the students to the spectrum of teaching styles. We formed 6 teams of 3 or 4 students per team. Each team was assigned to teach a particular skill or attribute from the theme. For example, if we were teaching basketball skills, we might have stations, dribbling, free throw shooting, passing, guarding, layup shot, jump shot, and so on. And each of those teams prepared 3 tasks focusing on that skill or attribute. When we got to the school, we set up our stations around the gym with a team at each station. And then when the children came in, their teacher would assign 5 to 6 kids to a station. Start the lesson. After 10 minutes, I blew the whistle and the children would rotate to the next station. The teachers would stay at the same station to teach the same activity again. I taught this course for many years. It was a terrific introduction to teaching course, I think. The incident I wanted to share with you took place at the Widener School, which is a public school in Philadelphia for children with orthopedic challenges. On that day, we set up around the gym 6 stations pertaining to various components of fitness. Each station had 3 tasks focusing on a particular component or attribute. The tasks were designed by my students, and this week we were using style B, the practice style. So this is kind of what the gym looked like. And we set up the stations, accuracy, flexibility, reaction time, strength, muscular endurance, and agility. And I noticed we had space in the middle. So I set up a 7th station, which was the slanty rope. I simply took a rope, tied one end to a weight, the other end to a volleyball stand, and we created the slanty rope. We told the children, once they had finished at their station, if they had time, they could go over to the slanty rope and try to jump over the rope, and then go back to their group. Now, I was in the bleachers watching this, and things were going well. Just university students were doing a good job. The teachers were teaching well. The children were engaged. I blew my whistle. The children rotated to the next station, and it was going well. I kept my eye on the slanty rope out of the corner of my eye. Some kids, just a few, came over to try it, and then they returned to their groups. And then this one boy in a wheelchair, no use of his legs, rolled over the slanty rope. He took a few moments studying the slanty rope, and then he got out of his wheelchair, he laid down on the gym floor, and he wiggled his way over to the low end of the rope. Somehow, he flipped his legs over the rope and then reached back and twisted the rest of the body, his rescue body over the rope. He did the high jump. There was a big smile on his face, and he raised his arm over his head, a sign of victory, as he returned to his chair and rejoined his group. No one observed this but me. I was beside myself, observing this incredible act of courage and determination in this young boy. I thought, can you imagine this boy telling his mom tonight, I high jumped today in physical education class? And I wondered what effect this experience might have on his confidence and his approach to the next learning challenge. This happened because of the slanty rope. If we had set up a standard horizontal rope, he would not have even approached station 7. But the slanty rope invited him to give it a try, an opportunity to participate. It included him. I want to be clear, the inclusion style, the slanty rope style, involves particular teaching behavior, learner behavior, conditions, and consequences. This style may be appropriate for certain episodes under certain situations and may be inappropriate under different circumstances. Each style along the spectrum has its own consequences. And a spectrum educated teacher, a teacher with what must be called mobility ability, was able to select the appropriate teaching style to match the teacher's approach and learner's needs. The best example I can give you of mobility ability was my friend and colleague, Dr. Philip Gurney. And I mentioned to you that he sometimes had 3 or 4 episodes going on at the same time. On the walls of his gym, he had listed the roles of teacher and learner for each of the teaching styles. After Muska passed away in 1994, Sarah edited a wonderful biography called Muska. It contains the recollection of over 60 of Muska's friends and colleagues about his adventurous childhood, his years as a macho young man, and his early years in teaching, his family, and his long and productive academic career. I think this book is out of print now, but perhaps the Spectrum Institute can get a copy and put it online. It's a really neat read. Well, I was going to discuss briefly guided discovery, but I'm out of time. So I'll end by saying thank you to the Spectrum Institute for your support, and thanks to all of you for supporting the Spectrum. Thank you.
Excellent, Mike. Thank you very much for sharing those great experiences with us. As the majority of us, if not all of us, have not necessarily met. We didn't meet Mostyn while he was still living, me included, unfortunately. Are there questions for Mike at this point in time?
Hi, I don't have a question, but can I make a comments?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Kanai Haneshi. I'm from Western Colorado University in the United States. I just want to make a quick comment that Mike, just like that, Muska inspired Mike to get involved in Spectrum. I do meet Mike. So Mike came over to Smith College to give us a lecture. like hour and a half or 2 hours. But then that lecture, because of the lecture, I'm here. So I just wanted to acknowledge and thankful that I had the opportunity to be at his lecture, the Michael's lecture, and then because of that, I'm here. And then in addition to that, a lot of things that Mike mentioned in his presentation is something that I'm very interested in explore further. And I would love to get more collaboration if it's possible to put exploring the spectrum teaching styles to foster, promote like inclusion, equity, social justice. That's very important to teach in physical education all over the world. So anyway, I'm interested in that topic, and then I'm in process of writing that as well. But that's why I was very pleased to see that Muska was there already thinking about it. I don't know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and it was very, I did not have a chance to meet him, of course, but it was very impressive that he was already, he was such a forward thinker that, a lot of things that physical education professions are thinking about, he was already thinking 30 years ago, so he was very pleased to hear. And thank you again for the wonderful presentation.
Thanks, Kanai. Mark, you remember that Sarah invited her to come to that workshop in New Jersey. And the second time we got together, so it's great seeing you again.
Other questions, comments?
Nico, raise hand.
Go ahead.
Mike, thank you very much for sharing all this with us. I have no words to regret for not being born earlier so that I can have you as a professor or even with Muska. But all these messages coming from, I was born by the way, in 1966. So along with the spectrum. And I was really wondering, this is something I discuss many times with my students. When nowadays, for example, we discuss very easily about concepts about, inclusion, exclusion in education and in society. But I just hypothesize that talking about inclusion and exclusion back in the 60s, that must have been very revolutionary. So I was wondering what kind of reactions Muska had or you had when, had to discuss similar concepts. Thank you.
Muska had a tough time of it during the 60s because his ideas were revolutionary. And he would often have, from traditional people, have a difficult time. But then the idea started to catch on. For example, Style E, the inclusion style, there was a whole program called Individually Prescribed Instruction, which kind of was based on that same idea of trying to provide a challenge to the child where the child was. And so I think after the 1960s, people started to open up a little bit.
Yeah, we are still struggling, sometimes in order to, when we have to educate teachers, physical education teachers or general teachers at schools, where you can easily see that they have a tendency for what we call an authoritative style of teaching, while the inclusion style is so, democratic and allows everybody to participate. So that's my comment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Nico, back in the first book that Muska published in 1966, when he introduced the spectrum, the lines were not parallel across the spectrum. The lines were shaped like this, with style A being down here and style G being up at the other end. And then in his second edition, he opened it up because he said, if the spectrum is truly universal, it'll have to include everything.
By the way, I think I need to inform everybody because there was a comment from Mike that with Autumn's efforts, we are basically able to, at some point, disseminate old books that have all books in different languages, okay?
Technically, I can't share them publicly right now because they are under copyright, but if there is a version of the book that we have that you would like to have a copy of, I can send you privately through email a copy of it.
Other questions or comments? We have time for maybe one or two. Kelly?
Question. Mike, thank you for that presentation. It was fantastic. And for someone who's new to the profession and getting to hear a little bit more about the history is very helpful. So thank you. I'm kind of curious. I was fortunate enough to have Dr. Byra as one of my professors as a person being trained as a teacher. So he's kind of my Muska in some ways. But what I've seen is, and what I feel is, how can you be a quality educator, regardless of the subject, without knowledge of the styles as the tools in your toolbox to be highly effective? And what I've noticed is through things like evidence-based or models-based practices, which I'm a proponent of, we see these styles really embedded in the models. But I don't think we do a good job now in this generation distinguishing the styles from the models for teachers. And so they kind of get hooked on one style within a model. What would be, from what you've learned in your experiences and in the training you received, how could we better present the styles and the models in a way that is going to open up teaching for pre-service teachers that maybe we're not doing currently?
Thanks for the question, Kelly. By the way, Mark Byra is also a proud graduate of the University of Pittsburgh. But one of the games that Sarah and I used to play all the time was we'd see a teaching segment anywhere, just a teaching segment, and we'd say, what style is that? And so in all the years we were playing this game, we always were able to place whatever we saw somewhere along the spectrum. It might not be per and perfect, but we could say it's somewhere along the spectrum. So I think you're right. When you say if you have that as your base, then you can look at other things and say, yeah, I can use that, and it fits here. I can use that, and it fits here. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I don't know if we do a good enough job. I shouldn't say we, I'll speak for myself. I don't know if I do a good enough job as a pre-service teacher, educator, to truly create a good foundation that's not detached from a model, so that the pre-service teachers can really connect and identify, oh, I went from A to B to C, and then I jumped back to B, and then I jumped into E. Do we need to do a better job, or should I be one of those people who does a better job to create that foundation within models? Do you think that would be more beneficial?
One of the problems I had, and I'm sure many of you have the same problem, is you teach spectrum undergraduate students, and they go out in the real world and they don't see it. And they kind of say, oh, okay, that was some theoretical thing I learned at university. Now this is real world. But as I mentioned before, this fellow I mentioned, Dr. Philip Gurney, when we went out to his school, on the walls were the spectrum, styles, and the roles of the teacher and learner, and he always used spectrum. So I could say to my students, hey, there it is. It's not just theory, it works. And then the more we in our program train cooperating teachers to use spectrum, slow but sure over the years, that helped a lot too.
Thank you. I really like that idea. I think I'm going to go make posters and get them in our gym next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And thanks, Mike. Our time for our session is up here, and I'd like to once again thank Dr. Goldberger for the presentation. It was great. A real nice link back to the past. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today, and we look forward to having you back at our next session, and enjoy the weekend and next week. Have a great
you.
day. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Have a
Have a nice weekend, you all. Bye-bye.
bye. Bye bye.